16:03, I'll call the August 19th meeting of the Wolfeboro Police Commission to order. At this time, I will entertain a consideration of the minutes of July 15th.
I move that we accept the minutes as prepared.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the July 15th minutes as written, and it's seconded by me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Chief, if you'd like to begin with the monthly reports.
That was Commissioner Coop giving me the thumbs up. I responded back to his text. So, gentlemen, the first slide in your slide deck is going to be the incidents year to date. You see a slight decrease in criminal incidents from 56 to 51. So that's an 8.92% decrease. Of those 51 incidents, we had 134 criminal offenses. So you have multiple offenses per criminal incident. Next slide in your slide deck is going to be arrest year to date. And we're down again slightly from 39 to 28 in the month of July. So almost one a day. That's a decrease of 28.205%, and that is a decrease. And these numbers are fairly consistent with what we have during the summertime here in Wolfeboro. You do have the arrest status report if you want to drill down or if you have any specific questions relative to those arrests, and that is a 10-page report. So moving on, collisions year to date. We had a slight uptick in collisions in July from 11 to 15. That's a 36.364% increase. Again, not inconsistent. July is a heavily traveled month in Wolfeboro. This is when we see our seasonal populations explode. I did give you two documents in your under your collision slide. One is the January, so you can see where the breakdown of the roads were, where these crashes occurred. And then I also gave you one that looks like this, and it's going to show the roads year to date from January. So if you wanted to compare and see what where the primary offenders were, and as I always
No secrets there. No
yeah,
surprises.
yeah. I mean, it's our heavily traveled roads. It's
Center Street and South
Center
Main.
Street and South Main Street and so forth. So, and those two roads represent probably the most heavily patrolled, heavily trafficked road by our officers. We're out on those roads multiple times every day. Traffic stops year to date. We had a slight increase in traffic stops in July, up 45.652% from 322 traffic stops to 469. Of those, 41 tickets were issued. That is an 8.74% chance of getting a ticket, so less than 10% chance. This is reflective of the strong educational mindset that we have in the Wolfeboro Police Department in trying to educate our motoring public as opposed to being overly punitive. So I think anything less than 10% on a ticket base is actually pretty good. You do have the breakdown of all of those stops and the reasons for those stops and what roads those stops occurred on in your slide deck.
Oh, yeah, that could be
Moving on to monthly activity for the detective. For the month of July, Detective Emerson investigated 8 new cases. The cases below represent all the incidents and arrests for the month of July. 4 cases were investigated as misdemeanors, and 3 cases were investigated at the felony level. 1 case was a citizen assist. It was a non-criminal event. Detective Emerson also assisted with the U.S. Marshal's Office attempting to locate a fugitive from justice. That fugitive was later located. Additionally, Detective Emerson responded to a report of a missing elderly woman. Detective Emerson assisted the family, and Detective Emerson was able to have the New Jersey State Police locate the missing woman in her vehicle on the highway in the state. She was safe and kept so because of Detective Emerson's fine action. So this is, again, representative of something that doesn't necessarily fit within the parameters of the metrics that we look at, but I pay attention to. And I want to highlight to the Wolfeboro Police Commission because it's time and time again, Detective Emerson through good old-fashioned police work and just ingenuity, really gets involved in these types of matters and is a real asset to the PD, and in this particular case was able to find a missing elderly woman and make sure she was safe until assistance could arrive. And so again, that speaks to his commitment to public safety, and I think it was a great investigative effort on his part. You have the detective's spreadsheet if you want to take a look at those cases year to date. And moving on to personnel analysis. Next slide. Yep, got it. So this is the personnel analysis. This is reflective of all the personnel in the department and their associated activity against certain metrics that the captain and I pay particular attention to. Please understand that when you look at this, that we're keeping in the back of your mind that certain officers are working a midnight shift and other shifts that are not as necessarily busy as, say, the 6 to 2 or 4 to midnight shift. So it is a rotational schedule that the officers, so all the officers get to a little bit of the wealth, but it could be that some officers are a little bit more active than others. So, and there's your accidents year to date for the town. Okay, so it looks like we're hovering right around 58. Moving on to the chief's items. If you have, unless you have some questions, sir.
No, I'm just making sure, yep. I was looking for a school resource, but they're not in school yet, so,
School's out.
I know,
I think that was a song by Alice Cooper.
yeah, forever.
Okay.
All right,
I'm not dating myself, he is. Okay. I do have one item for non-public, and that is under personnel. General budget items. Presently, the PD continues to execute the FY21 budget well, and we are still showing a slight under expenditure of approximately 2%. This fluctuates each week. This is normal. Throughout the course of a year, there are always minor cost savings that are realized throughout the season, which contribute to these minor amounts of unexpended appropriations. The next quarterly FY21 budget review will be at the October commission meeting for the end of the September budget review. This will be the town's end of the third quarter budget, fourth quarter federal, and that will be given during the chief's items presentation, at the end of the chief's items presentation. Additionally, we have started in earnest on the construction of the FY22 budget. So far, all is going well, and I'm not expecting any major requests for appropriations. Because of the Tesla donation, we will not be asking for a vehicle this year, so that is a very nice savings to the town. As we have been directed by the town hall to prepare the budget using new budget guidelines, there will be a slight delay in gathering our budget construction team, which consists of the commission, our 3 LNOs to the budget committee, and our boss LNO. To achieve what we have been directed to do, we must rebuild the budget in a new format. So there's an awful lot of population of data, which, as you gentlemen know, is quite time consuming and very tedious. Our administrative executive assistant is doing yeoman's work on that, even as we speak, and we had a budget meeting on the FY22 budget status earlier this morning, which was about as interesting as watching paint dry. But I will tell you that it's going along quite smoothly, and we're working through some of the new kinks in the budget format. So I just wanted to let you gentlemen know what the status was.
I'd just like to ask Tom if this is something that has been made aware of the budget committee, and they're taking that into consideration for the evaluation of the budgets.
Which particular item are you talking about?
There's a new format for preparing the budget, and it's going to be something that's different than what you guys have seen in the past on the budget committee. I'm just wondering if there's been...
Yeah, there's a number of changes that are being implemented, actually by the new CFO, so this is one of them as well. We're going to be including some more transparency, a little bit more granularity to what the budget committee sees, and that's a result of her bringing some new ideas, but whatever you're working on is going to be appreciated as well.
Yeah, that's part and parcel of the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a completely new format.
Yeah.
And it's not the MuniSmart type of format that we're all used to. So, and it took me some time this morning going through it, and of course, with Sherry's assistance, we were able to, muddle our way through that, but it's not as intuitive as the MuniSmart is. So, there are some advantages to it, without doubt, there are some advantages, so. So this new construction process is gonna take some time. I will call for a meeting when we have the numbers and the budget finally constructed. Incidentally, with this new budget, I'll be rewriting my new FY22 goals and objectives. As I stated last meeting, this document forms the basis of the FY22 budget and ties the budget directly to my goals and objectives. I will send this document out once it is completed for review, discussion, and changes pursuant to the wishes of the Wolfeboro Police Commission.
Excellent.
Lastly, I'm happy to report that I have no major issues with the FY21 budget. Please keep your fingers crossed. As always, hoping to avoid any unforecasted financial requirements, also known as UFRs. I will keep the commission informed. Personnel, with the retirement of Jason Boucher, effective 1 August 2021, we hired Joe Oswald on 2 August 2022. He is a certified, he was in a modified FTO program as he is a already certified police officer with quite a bit of experience. And he is certified by 2 police academies, Florida and New Hampshire. Right now, we're back up to full strength at 14 full-time officers. Corporal Boucher, who retired, will be staying on with us as a part-time officer, as you gentlemen are aware. And today, in fact, Officer Oswald came off of the modified FTO program, is now out on his own. So
Did have an occasion to encounter Sergeant Spira at the Albee Beach on Sunday, and Officer Oswald was with him, but I had an opportunity to talk to Sergeant Spira on the side, and as I think we all expected, he's doing remarkably well. And
it's a good fit for the town.
He's gonna fit in very well with Wolfeboro.
Yeah, he's in fact, in the words of Sergeant Sparrow this afternoon during the staff meeting, very impressive. Very impressive young man, so he's doing well, that's
Good
good.
find.
Operations, criminal investigations, and prosecutions. In terms of police investigations and operations, the month of July was busy. In addition to the 4th of July fireworks and parade, our numbers were consistent to our past busy summer, so it was well attended. The department also remained involved in the 5-car motor vehicle crash investigation which occurred last November. The investigation is still active, and I will continue to keep the commission informed. This is indeed a lengthy inquiry, and I hope to have this wrapped up by November. Because of the 3-day 4th of July weekend and summer vacations, court has been slow. Only 11 cases were heard this past month. Of those 11 defendants charged, 4 were found or pled guilty at trial, 2 were placed on file pending good behavior and restitution in other classes as part of their agreement, and another 5 cases were forwarded to diversion. The conviction rate in this past month is 100%, with $2,294 in fines, restitution, and penalties meted out by the courts. Safety and security matters. We are realizing significant increases in traffic volumes because of the ending of pandemic precautions. I dare say these volumes are at or near all-time highs. I suspect the traffic to our town will continue to be heavy all season. Plan for this in advance and leave earlier for destinations. It is summertime in Wolfeboro. Lastly, during significant weather events, if you don't have to go out, don't. A vast majority of our crashes occur during periods of inclement weather. Plan for needs ahead of these storms, cancel non-important appointments or events if possible, and please be safe. Dispatch, I have nothing significant to report. Motor vehicle enforcement. In an effort to mitigate the traffic crashes we realize monthly, we will be continuing a strong, proactive approach to motor vehicle enforcement. This can be seen in our monthly briefing slides. We'll be conducting aggressive speed reduction patrols in and through town, so please, if you're in a habit of speeding, don't. Lastly, we continue to deploy assets and patrols to our identified problem areas. The department is continuing its enhanced speed enforcement operations in the following areas: Lanner Street, Forest Road, Cotton Valley and College Road to Stoddard Road, Beach Pond Road with a focus on the area between Pine Hill Road and North Line Road, Center Street, North Main Street, 109 East, Bay Street, and Sewell Road. The reasons for these speed enforcement operations is due to citizen complaints and data collected and analyzed by our radar trailer. We will continue our efforts in these areas until we are sure that these speeds have come down. If you travel these roads, please be mindful of the posted speed limits. Lastly, speeding represents a danger on town roads. All our roads are posted accurately. Our speed limit signs and radar warning devices are there to keep drivers safe. I said last month, if I catch you speeding on our roads or raising our radar warning signs, you will be issued several summonses and have your license to drive revoked. A license is a privilege, not a right. Please obey the posted speed limit signs. They are there for your safety and that of the public. Training. Officer Devine attended school resource officer training. This was a week-long class, and this was long overdue because of COVID-19, and I'm glad she's got that class done. She's now ready for the new school year, and I know is looking forward to it. As of the end of March, almost all of the PD members have met their annual training requirements in terms of non-discretionary training. As you may remember, this is an annual, I have to sign an annual affidavit attesting that all the officers have attended their obligatory trainings and send that to the academy where it's filed. So we track that very carefully. Matters of interest and outreach, both the captain and I continue to meet with concerned citizens regarding a wide range of issues and community topics. I am still conducting our talk radio show with Eric Scott of WSR. Please be our guest on this show each Monday at noon. Please call in and ask your questions and join in the discussion. Let's get involved and solve community issues or simply have a good time. All are welcome. Well, the captain and I spoke on Wolfeboro Community TV this past month. Captain Livy continues to be part of the master planning process, the technical review, and joint loss committees. I continue to serve on the Governor's Commission for the Humane and Ethical Treatment of Animals. Lastly, please be our guest on Coffee and Connections with the Chief. Safety tip of the month. August is upon us. The temps will be dropping soon and fall is on the way. Please be mindful of the children out and about trying to eke out the last vestiges of summer before heading back to school. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, under commission items, just want to mention that our meeting for September will be the fourth Thursday and not our typical third Thursday of the month, which will, and it will be held here at 4 o'clock on September 23rd. And now, Luke, do you have anything from the Board of Selectmen that you would like to share with us? Any questions, concerns, or anything that you're...
You guys do a fantastic job. Tesla looks wonderful in town. It's nice seeing it being driven around. People are obviously excited to see it and get to see the captain in it. And it's a good look for Wolfeboro. The bikes are out. I've seen Officer Mary out there and a few other guys on the Bridge Falls path. It's nice seeing the bike's back on the path.
Yeah.
The path is heavily used. I run it fairly often, and this since COVID's hit,
Everybody's on there.
everyone's on it. It's a busy path,
Yeah.
you know, from morning to night now. And it's nice to have eyes on that path, you know, from,
Yeah.
so it's, the beaches are busy, but with the new policies, it seems like they've quieted down a little bit, so I think everything's going really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite Tavis Austin with some questions or discussion.
Okay, I guess I'm here in Tavis's absence.
Oh,
Kathy
I'm sorry.
Barnard.
Yep, I'm sorry, Kathy Barnard from the
Yeah.
Planning Board, yes.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to come up here, or what's your
Um,
pleasure? Are you comfortable where you are?
Yeah, well, I'm comfortable where I am.
Okay, that's fine.
But let me just sort of give you a little background. We're the planning board, I'm chairman of the planning board, and Susan Replier is here. She's also a member. And back a couple of years ago, we decided to form a short-term rental committee due to all the
VRBOs,
issues,
Airbnbs,
yeah,
stuff like
right,
that, sure.
that the community has had. So the purpose of it was to determine the impact on the quality of life in Wolfeboro and to make recommendations. So the committee got off to a start during COVID, so that it didn't go very far. But recently in March, we did meet with the police, fire, and our code officers to determine what code issues might be violated by some of these folks. And basically, they told us that really they didn't have any specific issues. So after that, we've continued to have meetings, and citizens have come and made their case to us. And it seems that some of the issues have to do with noise. And I mean, I know that the police go out on all the noise complaints. And so I'm not sure what more can be done. But the committee felt that we should take this to the planning board. When we talked about it at the planning board said, well, we need to go to the Board of Selectmen. So we tried that, and the chairman said, well, we really don't have anything to do with the police department, so she suggested that we come here. So basically, really what we're looking for is any suggestions that we could say to people when they bring these complaints to us as to what maybe they could do about the noise. And I know that you folks are following up on all of them, I would assume. And I'm not sure what else can be done, but I thought it was worth at least a conversation with you.
Sure, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think two things. When it comes to issues with housing and other things within the town, there is a lot of ordinances that are written by the Board of Selectmen that, when they're adopted, some do fall on the police department for enforcement purposes.
Right.
Having said that, I'm going to defer to Chief Rondo, because this is part and parcel of his area of responsibility, and where he is, he has the ultimate say, if you will, in terms of the deployment of the resources to address any questions, any concerns, such as these. So,
Yeah,
Chief, if you would.
okay.
Thank you. So I know that these are quality of life issues, and these are really important. When it comes to noise complaints, there's already a town ordinance on the books for noise, and there's also a state law on the books for noise, and then harassment and some other things that might fall in that category as well. So the first thing I would say is that when dispatch receives a complaint from a concerned citizen about noise, an active noise, loud party, whatever the case, we always go out and investigate those, all right? They're always taken care of. Now, sometimes those may end in a summons, sometimes those may end in an arrest, or sometimes those were simply gonna be, hey, listen, you gotta turn the music down, take it inside, and it ends in a warning. And so those are really the three ways that they get taken care of. We do have to come back. Usually it's going to result in some sort of fine or other punitive action. With that being said, I remember running a report for, I can't remember who asked for it last year, Paul O'Brien or somebody had asked for it, wanted the data on noise complaints. We didn't have very many. I think we had maybe 4 or 5 last year for the whole season. Now, that's not saying that the actions are not occurring, that people aren't being bothered by noise. It's just that the complainants are not calling the PD and asking for assistance. So with that being said, I would say that when those things happen, when they can't resolve these issues or feel that they can't resolve the issues, or it's too dangerous to them to try to resolve the issues for fear of retaliation or retribution, certainly call the police department. We'll be happy to do this. This is our job. So we'll be happy to help anybody. That's number one. Number two, in terms of writing a new ordinance, clearly what the chairman said would be correct. That falls squarely within the 4 corners of the duties and responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen. We don't, the police department and the police commission, we do not write laws. All right, we don't write the law. We enforce the laws. We don't write the laws, right? That's up to, in this particular case, this would be the legislative arm or the Board of Selectmen acting in their legislative capacity to do that, okay? We're in the executive branch of government, we would simply execute those. With that being said, I think we have plenty of police powers. I'm not looking to increase police powers or policing functions. I think the applicable ordinances and laws are already on the books. With associations, I think they could be very helpful in solving these problems because they have more teeth
Yep.
than even, I think, the Board of Selectmen do in corralling, if you will, their members. So associations can set rules and regulations, they can have their own bylaws, and they can set fines. And I know we have a number of homeowners associations in Wolfeboro. Some of those may allow for short-term rentals, others may not, but regardless, I think it's up to the associations to police their own members. And if you have an unruly house, a problem house within an association that seems to be constantly renting to unruly patrons, then I think that association should take action on its own member in the form of some sort of punitive fine or restricting their ability to do that. Now, I think the associations should be self-policing in that function. Absent that, we can get involved when there is what I would call a clear violation of law. You know, disorderly conduct, loud noise, and it's gotta fall within the parameters of, you know, it's difficult to prosecute a loud noise complaint at noon, right? It's a little bit easier to take some sort of action if it's a loud noise complaint at 3 a.m, right? The courts have ruled and have been instructional what we should look at in terms of bothersome noise and harassment. You know, so for example, if it's after midnight, maybe not so much, but if it's 2 a.m, sure, you got a case. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Did you?
We are being told that it's, the vast majority of the short-term rentals are successful with no issue.
Sure.
We've had a number of meetings, we have a number of people coming in from the public expressing their concern and complaints. And from what we can see, the points of pain are coming from 2 or 3 specific neighborhoods. They have HOAs. They are telling us that the HOA, for some reason, does not have the teeth to be able to handle the problem. They are begging us for help. So we're just trying to help these people.
Sure.
And it looks like absentee owner situation, different groups in there every weekend. When the neighbors go and ask them to quiet down, they don't quiet down. When they approach the owner, nothing happens either. The homeowners association does not seem to be able to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just asking you point blank, is it possible for the police to be able to find not the people making the noise, but the property owner?
No.
No.
So just follow me here, and I'll tell you the reason why. But I'll tell you a possible solution.
Okay.
So under the law, I can hold the culprit accountable, right? So let's take a noise ordinance violation or a violation of state law under noise, loud noise, loud party, whatever. They don't settle down. We have to come back. We can take action. We can summons, and if need be, we can arrest and incapacitate that bad actor or bad actors and solve the problem, right? We can do that. But those are the people causing the criminal violation. To try to hold an absentee landlord owner accountable who may be in Florida, who's doing nothing wrong, there's no intent there. He or she is not violating the law. They're not doing anything other than relaxing. So when it comes to laws, to include town ordinance violations, right, you have to have a number of things that have to be met, right? So with a noise complaint, it's gotta be in an inconvenient time, it has to be loud and disturbing, so forth and so on. But the first thing that has to be met is called intent, right? And that's culpable, that's called a culpable state of mind. If you remember when we were growing up, or maybe not you, but when I was growing up, right, my aunt used to watch Perry Mason, and he would get up there and he would always argue the killer's intent, right? What was the state of mind of the bad guy? And you have to have an intent. There has to be a criminal intent to commit a crime. It could be negligence, it could be recklessness, it could be knowingly or purposely. So those are the 4 states of mind in New Hampshire. So you have to have a culpable state of mind to commit a crime. That's first and foremost. If you have no culpable state of mind, you have no criminal violation. You may have other unlawful violations. They're probably not criminal, they may be civil. Now the way to solve it, I think, would be, if you want to do just that, you want to hold the property owner accountable, then you would need an ordinance written and approved by the Board of Selectmen, and that would have to be legally sustainable. That would have to meet muster of town council, okay? And that's what you would have to do, and quite frankly, I don't know if something like that is doable. I don't know if something like that is constitutionally sustainable.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
There is legislation very possibly coming down from the state level at some point regarding short-term rentals. There is a bill on the table, but it's sort of in limbo right now, so this is a medium solution that we're just trying to come up with to help these people until the state decides how they're gonna regulate short-term rentals, which is kind of a new beast
Sure.
for everyone.
So a nuisance property, right, which is what you're talking about, a nuisance property. And that's an interesting concept. And I think that the homeowners associations certainly have more teeth here and could put the homeowner on notice if they continue to rent to unruly groups or groups that are violating the provisions of the rental agreement. So if the rental agreement is for 10 people and they have 20, or 30 or more, and they're carrying on with their gleeful acts after midnight or so, or 10 a.m., whatever the bylaws say, within the rental agreement, then certainly I think, or the homeowners association, certainly I think that is something that you could, hey, here's your first warning, hey, here's your second warning, hey, your third warning is a $500 fine. And I think they clearly have the teeth to do that. Port Wetland Association years ago, probably about 10 years ago, 5 years, 7 years ago, wrote a whole addition to their homeowners association relative to golf carts.
Golf carts, oh yeah, the golf cart
And the
controversy.
violation of that, and they did a fantastic job. And they ran it by the police department, we liked it, we gave some constructive thoughts on it, but it was all done by them. They did all the heavy lifting and all the obligatory legal checks and everything else that they had to do to make that constitutionally sustainable. And that actually carries some pretty serious fines. I think the fines there that they're levying are pretty substantial. So they're doing the self-policing part. I think that's really a good idea. I think that's the way it should be done. I think that the homeowners associations should certainly keep their homeowners, if you will, in line, and that's a way to do it. It's like being part of a condo association. When you're part of a condo association and you're not following the rules, they'll take you right to court, and I think that's a good thing.
For some reason, they are struggling with that. They are really struggling with that.
That may be too nice.
This
And
is
they are
some.
asking for our help.
Sure, I get it, and here's what I would say. This is the reason we have attorneys. Ask for some legal advice from attorneys. There's plenty of good ones out there, and I think a good attorney could be of assistance. And sure, I know that costs money, but they'll be helpful. I don't know why they're struggling with that. So, they should just write it and get it passed and move forward.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to overthink it. I mean, Port Wetland did a great job with the golf carts.
Those are specifically the people who are struggling. Specifically.
Well, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know why, I didn't know that, but okay, I don't know why, because they
They're not
broke,
the only
they,
ones.
as far as I was concerned, they broke the code on the whole golf cart thing. They did a phenomenal job. And you know what? We have not had one problem, not one, and we patrol Port Wetland pretty heavily. I am in Port Wetland at least once a day, if not twice, myself as the chief of police. That's not including the rest of my patrol staff. Port Wetland is one of the more heavily patrolled communities in Wolfeboro.
Okay, well.
They're getting probably just as much love as North and South Main Street.
All right.
Yeah, I know they've had a lot of issues down there, and I don't know all of them like you do,
Yeah.
but we had been approached in the past from some people, and this was during COVID, when, because there's a lot of out-of-state homeowners that live in there, those are seasonal homes.
Right.
These people would arrive on a Friday evening, and there was an expectation for those that lived there year-round that they were gonna come and stay there. And they would come in on a Friday, and this is when they were recommending quarantining for 2 weeks and so
Yeah.
forth. They would come in, live life like they normally do. They wanted to go out Saturday morning and shop in downtown Wolfeboro, they went out, they did their thing, barely following any kind of guidance that had been issued and implemented at the time. But the most that we could do as a police department, as a law enforcement agency, or any law enforcement agency, was to go over and speak with them. But absent of anything coming down from the state's attorney general and the New Hampshire legislature that write New Hampshire law, there's nothing to enforce. You can't, that was probably the biggest difficulty experienced by law enforcement agencies. If there was nothing on the books to cause or to enable the police department to enforce or to address the behaviors, if you will, it was very difficult. So all we could do as an agency was and oftentimes it was the chief or the captain that would do it, that would go and speak with these people in a kind manner and just say, listen, we're in the middle of a pandemic and you need to be a little bit more thoughtful. Bring your groceries with you when you come from Massachusetts or Connecticut or New York, wherever, and please be mindful that, we are in the middle of the pandemic and when you venture out, do so cautiously. So I know a lot of times when people run into a problem, their first instinct is to call the police department. Oftentimes there's civil matters and they're out of the department's hands. They have to be handled differently. Other times they're matters like this where they could be handled maybe by the HOA.
I would encourage, so looking at the data, now I didn't pull the data for this year, but looking at the data last year and years past, we just don't get a lot of noise complaints. But what I would say is that if this is really a systemic issue and we're not getting the calls and they need to call and they need to get us involved and we'll come down and deal with the mirth makers, so to speak.
Okay.
And hopefully rein them in. Of course, we will do that. That's what we do. Now, the first visit may not necessarily be punitive, but other visits could be. If we determine a systemic issue, then we certainly have no problem reaching out to a property owner and saying, look, Mr. Johnson or Mr. Smith, hey, we've had 17 complaints in the last month at your residence. That's really overwhelming. I know you're in Florida, but you need to try to figure out a better way to do this. There has to be a lot of systemic issues that we have to realize in a reasonably short period of time for us to do that.
Well, that sounds like it could be very helpful, actually.
Yeah, sure. And one, two, or three events in the course of, say, 6 months is not what I would call systemic, right? Especially if
No,
you're
it's
in the
every
business.
weekend.
But we would certainly come down and say, hey, take it inside, or you're making too much noise, you're disturbing your neighbors, turn it down, whatever the case may be, right? We'd be happy to do that. That's what we do. So we want to be of assistance, we want to be a partner in solving community issues, but we also have to stay on the right side of the Constitution.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my
You're welcome
pleasure.
here anytime, and we thank you for coming in.
Okay.
It's nice to have met you both.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and thank you for giving us an opportunity to help.
Okay,
So-
all right.
So please call us, or have somebody call us.
Okay, yeah, yes, we will.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, any public input of any type? Tom, our representative from the Budget Committee? Any, Tom Bell?
Other than, being a part of the budget process once you're involved enough into it.
Oh, yeah,
I welcome that, but also the board, or the committee, I should say, is trying to see if they can keep
Right.
a level of budget for any discretionary spending. And I think even the board of supervisors have kind of a 5% bogey for the combination of discretionary and non-discretionary increases in year-over-year budgets.
So I can probably help and provide a little bit of information, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, on, because we did look at the budget today, and I'll tell you right now, in terms of discretionary spending, I'm not seeing any real increases. Now, we're still building, we're still in the building process and getting the numbers populated. Now, remember, we have some contractual obligations that have to be met, right? I call those non-discretionary. I don't have any control of those. And, we know that there's gonna be an increase in retirement. So with the exceptions of some of those non-discretionary items, the police budget and the dispatch budget especially, and the ACO budget, are looking very bland. They just are at this point. Now, we're not completely finished with populating and putting all the data in, but I'm not seeing anything. There's really not gonna be any big asks this year from the Wolfeboro Police Department. We saved a tremendous amount of money receiving that Tesla and its associated upfitting equipment, the radar, the radio, the graphics, everything that went into making that vehicle possible. That's saving, and that's gonna continue to save us a lot of money a lot of money moving forward. The captain was telling me the other day, and again, this is all very preliminary, so please, take it with a grain of salt, because we're still analyzing the data, but looking at the meter, we're averaging about $30 a month to run that vehicle in electric costs. So $30 a month, imagine running your vehicle for $30 a month, right? You'd be very happy. And the captain is quite active. The captain does patrol work. He is out there in the vehicle. He does respond to calls for service. He obviously goes to meetings and other things, but so he's putting miles on that vehicle. Yeah, we're not really looking at anything that's. There may be some some obligatory equipment and things that we have to purchase to fix issues, but beyond that, I don't think we're really looking at anything that's going to be extraordinary here at all. So more to follow. You'll see it. We'll still call the meeting of the budget build team together, and just like in years past, there'll be food and coffee in there. We'll lock the door. We'll put on the boxing gloves. And we'll spend 3 hours going over the budget. Yes, Luke, you're gonna be invited. And then may the best man, we'll come out of there, as we always do. It will be collegiate, and we will have a budget when that is finished. And then I would want the select representative to take it back to the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Committee representatives take it back to the Budget Committee, and then we move forward from there. But yeah, that's still gonna happen.
No doubt.
And I'm looking forward to it, but like I said, what's kind of, if you will, for lack of a better term, what's kind of goofing us up this year is the new budget format. And not that it's only problematic in the sense that it's a new format, we have to populate the data, and that just takes a lot of time. It's very tedious. It takes a lot of time. And we have to make sure the math is correct.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, if there's no other business to come before the commission in public session, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session under
I move
RSA
that we
91
finish the public session and go move to non-public.
under 91A for personnel. Moved by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Wood.
Aye.
Roll call vote, yes by Commissioner O'Brien and a yes from Commissioner Wood. We'll stand in recess while we clear the room. Thank you, everybody.